In the cold and endless space, a single signal was sent. It was not meant for Earth, nor was it meant for humans. The signal came from a fleet of aliens known as the Veyari. They were at war and they were losing. The Veyari were a proud people, tall and fragile, with ships that glided like silver birds through the stars. They had been fighting against a race called the Zorath, a brutal enemy that destroyed without mercy. The Veyari believed they had friends nearby who would come to their aid. But in their rush and fear, their distress call reached the wrong place. It traveled through the dark, crossing systems and passing stars until it fell into the ears of Earth. On Titan, far from Earth's blue seas and green forests, there was a small outpost. The outpost was not large, only a collection of domes and towers set against the orange sky. There, Commander Olivia Barnes was at her station, monitoring signals from the far edges of the solar system. Olivia was not expecting anything unusual. Most days were quiet, filled with reports, data streams, and long hours. But when the strange signal came in, she felt her pulse quicken. The message repeated again and again in a language she did not know. The tone was urgent. The voice, though alien, carried fear. Olivia called for her team. A group of scientists and communication officers gathered around her console. They worked together, decoding bits of the strange transmission. Slowly, words began to take shape. One phrase was clear enough for all to understand. "Help us. We are dying." Olivia sent the data back to Earth. Within hours, the signal was in the hands of the United Earth Fleet. On Earth, in the capital city, leaders gathered in a great chamber. They listened to the broken words of the aliens. Some were moved with pity, others were suspicious. Could it be a trap? Could it be an attempt to lure humans into a war that was not theirs? The arguments went on for hours. Admiral Richard Hayes, a man with gray hair and sharp eyes, stood before them. He had spent his life preparing for the day when Earth might step beyond its borders in force. He believed this was that day. "We cannot hide forever," he said in a calm but steady voice. "The galaxy will find us one way or another." Today someone called for help. "We can answer, or we can turn away. But if we turn away, remember that tomorrow it might be us crying out with no one to listen." Not everyone agreed. Some council members said humanity should remain silent, that humans were not ready to face whatever powers lay beyond the stars. Captain Laura Mitchell, younger but equally firm, stood beside the Admiral. She reminded the Council of Earth's nature. "We come from a world where survival is hard. Our planet is full of storms, predators, and dangers. We have always fought to live. That is who we are. If someone calls for help and if we have the strength to give it, then we should." The debate lasted deep into the night. Finally, a vote was cast. By a narrow margin, the council agreed. Earth would respond. Across the solar system, the message went out. Ships were to be readied. Crews were to prepare for deployment. From the shipyards of Mars, from the stations orbiting Earth, and from the colonies scattered across space, vessels began to move. Some were sleek and fast, designed to strike quickly. Others were massive, built for long wars and heavy battles. Together, they formed something the galaxy had not yet seen. A fleet of Deathworlders united for war. Pilots prepared their fighters, checking weapons and engines. Engineers worked late into the night, securing systems and loading supplies. Men and women left messages for their families, not knowing when or if they would return. Among them was Daniel Brooks, a young pilot with steady hands and a quiet heart. He looked at the stars outside his station and whispered to himself, "We're finally going out there." Megan Carter, an engineer, tightened bolts on the hull of a cruiser, her hands rough from years of work. She smiled faintly, proud to be part of something larger than herself. Back on Titan, Olivia Barnes watched as the first human ships disappeared into the slipstream, their engines glowing like falling stars. She wondered about the ones who had sent the call. She wondered if they would welcome humans as saviors, or if they would fear what had come. Either way, she knew the course was set. Earth had heard the cry for help, and Earth had answered. Far away, in a corner of the galaxy, the Veyari still fought for their lives. They did not know yet that their call had reached a world unlike any other. They did not know yet that Deathworlders were on their way. But soon they would, and the galaxy itself would change forever. The distress call from the Veyari had reached Earth, and now the decision had been made. Humanity would respond. The choice carried both fear and hope. On Earth, the news spread quickly. Some people celebrated, proud that their species was no longer hiding in the shadows of the galaxy. Others were worried, afraid that sending fleets into the unknown would bring danger back home. But the order was final, and the great mobilization had begun. In the capital city, the United Earth Council stayed busy with long meetings. They planned supplies, routes, and the chain of command. Admiral Richard Hayes stood at the center of these plans. He was a man of discipline, hardened by decades of service. He believed Earth had been preparing for this moment for generations. "We are Deathworlders," he told his officers. "We survived storms, predators, and endless wars on our own world. Out there, the galaxy will see what humans truly are." Captain Laura Mitchell, who had supported him in the council, now stood at his side as one of the fleet leaders. She was younger but respected, known for her sharp mind and calm presence in battle. While Hayes inspired through authority, Laura inspired through trust. Crews believed in her, and that belief would be tested soon. Across the solar system, thousands of people worked without rest. In orbit above Mars, shipyards hummed with energy. Massive hulls floated in dry dock, workers crawling over them like ants. Megan Carter, the engineer who had helped ready one of the cruisers, walked along the metal scaffolding and checked the final adjustments. Her voice was hoarse from shouting orders, but she did not slow down. "Check the reactor flow again," she told her team. "If it fails once we're out there, we don't get a second chance." Meanwhile, pilots trained in simulation chambers. Daniel Brooks sat in a narrow pod, the screen around him filled with virtual stars. His hands gripped the controls as the program threw wave after wave of enemy ships at him. Sweat rolled down his face, but he kept his focus sharp. When the simulation ended, the instructor's voice came through the speaker. "Good work, Brooks. Keep that steady hand. Out there, hesitation means death." Daniel climbed out of the pod, his heart still racing. He knew the simulation was nothing compared to what waited beyond Earth's skies, but he welcomed the challenge. On Titan, Commander Olivia Barnes continued her work. Though the fleet was being prepared, her task was to monitor any further messages from the unknown. She listened to the alien voices again and again, the words echoing in her mind. Sometimes late at night she wondered what they looked like. Were they like humans with faces and hands? Or were they something beyond imagination? Whatever they were desperate. That desperation stayed with her as she worked. The fleet gathered near the great slipstream gate orbiting Jupiter. It was a massive ring of metal and energy, built over decades of effort. Few fleets had ever passed through it at once, and never one so large. From small escort ships to heavy battleships, the formation stretched farther than the eye could see. Their hulls gleamed silver and black, marked with the blue insignia of Earth. Families watched from stations and colonies as the armada prepared to leave. Some waved, some prayed, and some wept. Inside the flagship Horizon, Admiral Hayes and Captain Mitchell walked the bridge. The crew moved with calm efficiency, though everyone felt the weight of the mission. Hayes looked out at the countless ships on the display and spoke softly to Laura. "When history remembers this day, it will say humanity stepped out of the cradle not with a whisper, but with thunder." Laura nodded but kept her eyes on the crew. She could sense their nerves. She spoke to them in a clear voice. "We are not going to conquer. We are going to answer a call. We do not know what we will find, but we know who we are. Remember that, and we will not falter." The words calmed them, and the hum of activity continued. The countdown to departure began. Engines roared to life, and the great slipstream gate glowed with light. One by one, ships aligned in formation. Megan Carter stood in the engineering deck of her cruiser, feeling the vibration as power surged through the systems. Daniel Brooks sat in his fighter, helmet on, ready to launch with his squadron. Olivia Barnes, still on Titan, watched the feed of the fleet preparing to vanish into the unknown. The signal repeated again in her mind. "Help us, we are dying," she whispered to herself. "We're coming." With a final order, Admiral Hayes gave the command. The fleet surged forward. One by one, the ships entered the slipstream, vanishing into tunnels of light. From Earth and its colonies, millions watched the streams as the armada disappeared into the stars. Across the galaxy, the Veyari were still fighting for survival. Their ships were burning, their defenses breaking. They had no idea that far away, a fleet of Deathworlders was on its way. Soon the balance of power would change, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The human fleet emerged from slipstream near the coordinates of the Veyari distress call. Space stretched endlessly before them. black and full of distant stars. There was no time to admire the view. The sensors immediately picked up the wreckage of battleships and fire from distant lasers. The Zorath were relentless, their attacks tearing apart the Veyari formation. Commander Olivia Barnes, monitoring the incoming feed, could barely believe what she saw. Entire squadrons of alien ships were burning. Explosions rippled across the void. The Veyari fought bravely, but their numbers were too few. Their weapons not enough. Captain Laura Mitchell stood on the bridge of Horizon, her eyes scanning the display. "Form defensive lines," she ordered. "We enter combat now. Everyone stay sharp." Pilots like Daniel Brooks and his squadron lined up for attack. Their fighters, small but fast, darted like hawks into the chaos. Heavy cruisers powered up their shields and massive cannons lit up the darkness. Megan Carter worked tirelessly in engineering, monitoring the weapon systems and feeding data to the bridge. The tension was high. The humans had trained for this, but this was no simulation. This was real. The first encounter was brief but fierce. Human cruisers moved like steel phantoms, targeting Zorath ships with precision. The enemy seemed surprised at the sudden appearance of Earth's warships. Even the Veyari, who had fought for decades, stared in awe. Human firepower cut through the Zorath ranks, destroying ships that had been attacking for hours. Explosions painted the black canvas of space with streaks of red and orange. "Maintain formation," Captain Mitchell commanded. "Cover the Veyari lines. We cannot let any enemy through." Human pilots adjusted their positions quickly, shielding the alien vessels from further destruction. Daniel Brooks felt his heart race as he dodged laser fire, returning shots that tore apart enemy fighters. Every movement was precise. Every decision counted. In the chaos, a Veyari commander, Speaker Laren, tried to communicate. His voice crackled through the translators. "Who are these beings?" "Their power is unmatched," Olivia Barnes replied from the monitoring station, using the universal protocol. "We are humans from Earth. We received your distress call. Stand back, we will handle them." The Veyari could barely comprehend the words. They had never seen humans in combat. They had only heard legends, but the legends could not match the reality. The Zorath regrouped, attacking with new ferocity. They aimed directly for the Veyari flagship, hoping to end the battle with a single strike. But the humans anticipated the move. Heavy cannons fired in unison, cutting through the attacking ships before they could reach their target. Shields of the Veyari vessel shimmered under the assault, barely holding against the onslaught. Amid the fighting, individual acts of heroism appeared. Daniel Brooks targeted a Zorath fighter that had locked onto a Veyari engineer ship. His shots disabled the enemy craft, saving dozens of lives. Megan Carter rerouted power to critical shields, preventing a cruiser from being destroyed. Every human in the fleet played a part, a well-coordinated effort that the aliens could not fully understand. After hours of intense battle, the Zorath began to retreat. Their forces, though vast, could not match the sudden and overwhelming strength of the human fleet. Explosions faded, and the quiet of space returned. Debris floated among the stars, a grim reminder of the destruction. The Veyari ships, damaged but alive, slowly moved into formation with the humans. Captain Mitchell called the fleet together in a wide-channel transmission. "The immediate threat is gone. We will hold this sector until the Veyari can repair their forces. Anyone needing assistance, report now." One by one, Veyari commanders sent confirmations. Relief was clear in their voices. They had not expected help like this. They had not expected humans. Speaker Laren approached the human flagship in a small transport. Olivia Barnes met him at the docking bay. The alien was tall and slender, with blue-gray skin and eyes that reflected the starlight. His movements were careful but curious. "We have heard stories of humans," he said slowly, "but nothing could have prepared us for this." "You came as saviors," Olivia shook her head. "We came because someone called for help. We did not come to conquer, only to protect. But know this, humanity is not gentle. We fight to survive, and we fight to win." Lauren nodded, absorbing the weight of her words. In the aftermath, crews worked tirelessly to repair ships, treat the wounded, and gather intelligence. Megan Carter and her team moved from vessel to vessel, assessing damages. Daniel Brooks and his squadron flew reconnaissance missions, mapping debris fields and ensuring no remaining Zorath forces were hiding nearby. The human fleet had established its presence, and the Veyari could only watch in awe. That night, for the first time in decades, the Veyari allowed themselves to rest. The humans maintained a vigilant watch, their training and discipline unbroken. In the quiet moments, Speaker Lauren and Olivia Barnes spoke again. "Your species," he said, "you are not what we expected. You are something more." Olivia smiled faintly. "We are Deathworlders. That is all you need to know." As the stars stretched above them, both human and Vayari crews realized that the galaxy had changed. Humanity had arrived, answering a call they were not meant to hear. And with their arrival, a new era of power and fear was beginning. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. The humans had shown the galaxy what it meant to face death and survive, and nothing would ever be the same again. After the battle, the human fleet remained in position near the Vayari sector. Ships floated in formation, engines idling while repairs began. The Vayari had never seen anything like it. The humans moved with a calm determination, but there was power behind every action. Their weapons were precise, their strategies flawless, and their courage unshakable. Commander Olivia Barnes continued to monitor the alien signals. The Vayari were cautious, curious, and afraid all at once. They had lived in fear of the Zorath for generations, and now they were witnesses to a species that could change the course of a war with a single fleet. Olivia knew that they were beginning to understand the full extent of human capability. Captain Laura Mitchell gathered her officers in the command room of Horizon. "The Vayari need time to rebuild," she said. "We will stay until they are ready to fight on their own again. But we must also be cautious. The Zorath will return. They are relentless." Her officers nodded. Everyone understood the delicate balance. Protect without overstepping, assist without dominating. Daniel Brooks flew patrol missions, scanning the area for any lingering Zorath ships. His squadron moved like shadows among the stars, fast and silent. Megan Carter and the engineering teams worked tirelessly, repairing hulls, checking shields, and replacing weapon systems. Each crew member knew that every repair could save lives in the battles yet to come. The Vayari delegation requested a meeting aboard Horizon. Speaker Lauren, along with several advisors, arrived in a transport vessel. They were cautious, their expressions unreadable. Olivia met them at the docking bay. The alien leader's eyes reflected a mixture of fear and awe. "We owe you our lives," Lauren said. "Your arrival has changed everything. How can a species so small wield such power?" Olivia shook her head. "We are not small. We are survivors. Our world demanded that we fight to live. We learned to endure, to adapt, and to strike when necessary. That is why we are here. You called for help, and we answered." The Vayari studied the humans carefully. Some whispered among themselves, noting how humans carried themselves, how they moved, how they commanded machines that could destroy entire fleets. The humans were not gentle, nor were they entirely predictable, but they were allies, at least for now. Admiral Hayes joined the meeting via holographic projection. His voice was firm. "We did not come to rule. We came to protect. You must understand that humanity has a nature shaped by its home. Our world is harsh, and we have learned to survive at any cost. You should see us as partners, not masters. But do not underestimate us. We fight with every resource we have, and we will not fail." Speaker Lauren nodded slowly. "We understand. And yet your ways are strange to us. Your ships, your weapons, your coordination. It is beyond anything we imagined. How did your people achieve this?" Olivia answered. "We learned the hard way. We adapted to a world that demanded toughness, and we trained for conflicts that might never come. Now that experience can help others. But it is also a warning. We are not soft, and we do not forgive weakness lightly." The Vayari spent the following days observing human operations. They saw humans working together, repairing ships, coordinating patrols, and preparing for possible counterattacks. They saw pilots like Daniel Brooks risk their lives to protect even the smallest vessels. They saw engineers like Megan Carter refusing rest until every system was operational. Slowly, respect and awe grew within the alien delegation. One evening, Olivia and Lauren stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The debris from the battle floated silently in the void. Lauren's voice was quiet. "Your people. They are terrifying." Olivia smiled faintly. "We can be. But we can also protect. That is the difference. Fear is a tool, but so is strength. You called for help, and we answered. Remember that." The Vayari began to share intelligence about the Zorath. They revealed strategies, fleet movements, and weaknesses. The humans listened carefully, analyzing every piece of information. With this new data, they began to plan. Patrols would extend farther. Supply lines would be reinforced and defensive positions would be strengthened. Every human crew member understood that the calm after the battle was only temporary. War was not over. It had only shifted. In the human fleet, camaraderie grew. Pilots, engineers, and officers learned to trust each other in ways they never had before. They shared meals, stories, and quiet moments of reflection. Even in the vastness of space, they found connection. Daniel Brooks laughed with a fellow pilot over a small mistake in a drill. Megan Carter joked with her team about the stubborn nature of alien wiring. These moments of humanity reminded them why they fought and who they were. As the days passed, the humans also worked to reassure the Veyari. They set up joint operations, demonstrating tactics and sharing technology. At first, the aliens were hesitant, but gradually they began to see the value of working with the humans. They trained together, learned from each other, and began to trust that the Deathworlders were allies, not conquerors. Still, Olivia knew the larger war was not over. The Zorath would return, stronger and more determined. The humans had shown their strength, but they could not relax. Every ship, every crew member, and every strategy had to be ready for the next attack. Earth's arrival had shifted the balance of power, but it had also made them a target. The galaxy had seen humanity, and it would remember. Speaker Lauren finally spoke to Olivia one last time before returning to his fleet. Your species, it is a force unlike any other. We are grateful for your aid, and we are cautious of your strength. You are not like anyone we have met. Olivia nodded. We are Deathworlders. That is what we do. We fight, we endure, and we survive. Remember that. With that, the Veyari returned to their sector, their ships repaired and ready. The humans remained, vigilant, ensuring that the peace would hold at least for a time. The galaxy had changed. Humanity's presence was now known, their power respected, and their nature both feared and admired. The war was far from over, but Earth's children had already begun to shape the story of the stars. With the Veyari fleet repaired and human forces in position, the galaxy shifted into a tense calm. But calm was only temporary. The Zorath, defeated but not destroyed, were regrouping, planning their next strike. The humans had shown their strength, and now the entire war would revolve around the presence of Earth's fleet. Captain Laura Mitchell moved through the Bridge of Horizon, checking status reports and communicating with her fleet. Every ship was operational, every crew member alert. Daniel Brooks prepared his squadron for a reconnaissance sweep, scanning sectors beyond the immediate battle zone. Megan Carter and her engineers worked tirelessly, maintaining the delicate balance between efficiency and readiness. The humans had become the backbone of this new coalition, the force that gave hope to the Veyari and their allies. Admiral Hayes called a meeting with the Veyari commanders. Speaker Laren and several advisors attended via secure channels. The Zorath will not forget today, Hayes said. They will return, and they will come with everything they have. We must be ready. Humanity has answered a call, but now we lead the preparation for the next wave. The Veyari listened carefully. They had learned much in the past days, not just from the humans' firepower, but from their discipline, their organization, and their willingness to act decisively. Lauren asked, Your people? They are unlike anything we have known. Will they fight with us always? Olivia Barnes responded, We fight when a call for help reaches us. You sent a call and we came. That is who we are. But remember this. Humanity does not forgive weakness or betrayal. Fight well or face the consequences. The Veyari nodded, understanding the warning. The humans began to coordinate long-range patrols, establishing observation posts, and mapping Zorath territory. Pilots like Daniel Brooks flew mission after mission, often alone, to gather intelligence. Engineers like Megan Carter tested new defensive systems and modified weapons to be compatible with Veyari ships. The alliance was growing stronger, even as tension rose with every passing day. During one evening shift, Olivia watched the stars from Horizon's observation deck. She thought about Earth, about the families who had waved goodbye, and about the thousands of humans risking their lives in a distant war. The weight of command pressed heavily on her, but she knew that humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage, and there was no turning back. The Zorath attacked again sooner than expected. Their fleet, larger and more prepared, emerged from a hidden sector. Lasers flared and explosions lit up the darkness, but the humans were ready. Formation after formation, Earth ships blocked the path to the Veyari worlds. Daniel Brooks and his squadron intercepted enemy fighters, moving with precision and courage. Megan Carter adjusted shield frequencies on the fly, protecting entire cruisers from annihilation. The Veyari watched, their respect for the humans growing with each passing minute. They had called for aid, and Earth had arrived not just with ships but with strategy, coordination, and unyielding resolve. Every human on every ship moved with a purpose that seemed to be instinctive, as though survival itself was a shared language. Hours of battle passed. Slowly the Zorath were forced to retreat again, but this time they left with knowledge. They had seen humans in combat and they had learned to fear them. Captain Mitchell called the fleet together for a wide-channel broadcast. This battle is won, but the war continues. We will remain vigilant. We will support our allies and we will strike decisively when needed. Humanity has arrived in this galaxy. Remember that. The Veyari ships moved closer to the humans, forming new alliances and sharing knowledge. Speaker Lauren expressed deep gratitude. Your species. You are not like any we imagined. You bring hope but also caution. We are learning from you. Olivia nodded. We are Deathworlders. We fight to survive and we protect those who call for aid. The galaxy has seen us now, and it will remember. In the weeks that followed, human crews continued to work alongside the Veyari. Joint missions became more common, intelligence sharing improved, and the coalition's strength increased. Pilots, engineers, and officers bonded with alien allies, learning new tactics and sharing human ingenuity. Even in the vastness of space, a sense of purpose grew. Everywhere the humans went, they left a mark. The Zorath feared them. The Veyari trusted them. Other species, previously neutral or hidden, began to take notice. Humanity's arrival was no longer a secret. The galaxy had changed. One SOS had called them into a battle not theirs by right but by destiny. As Captain Mitchell looked out at the stars from the bridge of horizon, she thought about the future. The galaxy was vast, full of danger, but also full of opportunity. Humanity had answered the call. They had arrived as warriors, protectors, and survivors, and in doing so, they had changed the story of the stars forever.